Hey everybody, Blue here, bringing you one more deck from the Kaiba Corp Grand Championship story arc. So again, going into Season 5, there was a couple different story arcs that they had, and one of the really cool ones was definitely the Grand Championship. That saw a bunch of characters play out in a tournament to duel Yugi and take the title King of Games. So it was of course another Kaiba hosted tournament, and now we have Kaiba's deck. So Kaiba, like a lot of characters, we didn't see that many duels. It was a very brief thing. Again, the Casey tournament was it was one story arc in the overall fifth season, which went from that story arc all the way out through to the ceremonial battle. So we didn't see much. So this one, like the other characters, we've added a couple extra copies of the cards to fill up the deck. We couldn't get quite, the full 40 unique cards that we've strived to do. But this deck is, really cool version of the Kaiba deck. We really like all the Grand Championship decks because they actually have, at least I think they have they cherry pick some of the better, cooler cards throughout the last few seasons, especially Kaiba's deck, which is packing that. You probably hopefully remember Chaos Emperor Dragon. That is a really strong card. There's a reason it's on the banned list for actual, competitive play. And Kaiba puts it in his deck and rips it out of the tournament, and it's amazing. So it's really cool to also have taken that card and now have this deck to feature that card. So going through 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, I'll touch here that while there are 3 Blue Eyes in this deck, Kaiba did not summon Blue Eyes Ultimate, so this deck does not include Polymerization or Blue Eyes Ultimate. Despite the fact that we know Kaiba could have made the fusion, the thing was he didn't, and Delta and I generally, we like to get the decks towards the anime season, so if we didn't see Kaiba make a certain play, our deck would reflect that, and that we also would not be able to, even though he could have, most likely. The thing was that we didn't, and in this odd way, we mimic that we couldn't do that. So you wouldn't see it, a Grand Championship Blue Eyes in one of our decks. Now, you very well could go and add a Polymerization in Blue Eyes Ultimate because he probably could have made it. We're going to assume that he didn't summon it, but he had the pieces. Again, we like to limit ourselves sometimes so that it challenges the deck a bit, in that now this deck knows it can't summon Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. It doesn't have that, fallback strategy. So if it has 3 Blue Eyes in hand, you're not going to have that easy out. You have to work with it. So going on, 2 Lesser Dragon number 2. It was funny that in the same story arc, we saw Lesser Dragon being number 1, also being played by Rebecca. And again, the Rebecca Grand Championship deck has been out for a while. This is because we wanted to take her to add a new character to our lineup. Rather than release her along with another Yugi, another Kaiba, we pushed those out so we could try to get out more new characters, and that meant splitting her out from these. And of course, with more cards on the way now for Siegfried and Leon, hopefully one day, even though Delta and I are, for reasons we're retiring from the channel, we do hope to bring those decks someday if we are given the chance. But rolling through is X I can't. So this deck has really 2 core elements. It's the XYZs that Kaiba has refused to drop since Battle City, and it's also, packing a few more dragons, which, while Kaiba's always had dragons, I'd say his most dragon-centric deck was actually the Virtual World, which is where the Key Dragon came from. There it is, Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End. So shame we didn't see Yugi pull out Blackluster Envoy at the beginning, but hey, Chaos Emperor Dragon is an amazing card. It's a massive card. It deals so much damage, it's ridiculous. You get that Yada lockdown and Lord of D. So 2 Pitch Shark Dragon. No, this deck does not include the Dark Blade, which is interesting. But again, we're taking off the anime, so I guess that makes this card relatively less useful But it does kind of work, at least to an extent, with, again, Kaiba's dragon-centric theme. Why Dragon Head? And lastly, the Z Metal Tank. So that finishes out Kaiba's monsters. As you can assume, though, XYZ Dragon Cannon will make an appearance at the Fusion Night because that was something we did see. Again, it's kind of odd with our Blue Eyes ruling. It really comes down to what we did or didn't see, and then generally we don't include it, especially because Kaiba's deck doesn't need it. Doesn't need it, so we didn't want to include it as well because, you know, we wanted to work with the other cards it has. If we felt that it needed it, then we might be more inclined to fill the deck with it, but Card of Demise. So if you're not familiar with our errata system, what we do is play some cards with an anime effect if we feel that the printed effect is just too different. And we know that happens because Konami has to balance it for the TCG and the OCG. So like Card of Demise, it's a draw card. We know how those are compared to play. If you've never played competitively and you're really more of a casual player, then, well, don't get involved. So Card of Demise, this is a card we're using it just from the anime effect. Again, you can find a description, formal descriptions of all of our card erratas in a Google Docs in the description of this video and every video we have. So we type up formal descriptions like you would see written on the card effect. We just verbally summarize it in the videos. So this is draw until you have 5 cards. In your 5th turn, you chuck your whole hand down straight like the anime. There's a cool effect for that. So we want to make sure that this card gave Kaiba that draw card because Yugi's always had Card of Sanctity. Cost down. Next up, Defusion. So kind of an odd choice because we don't have a fusion for Kaiba necessarily to make aside from the XYZ. So again, this will be great with the Blue Eyes, but at the same time, Defusion is also a good defensive card against opponent's fusions because when you defuse your monster, you get the pieces back. If you defuse an opponent's monster, they do not because it's worded that it comes back from your graveyard. So while convention might say diffusion goes with your own fusion monsters, diffusion also works again as a defensive card. Dimension Fusion, this Kaiba deck, unlike some past ones, works a bit more with remove from play. 2 emergency provisions, 1 graceful charity, Monster Born, Pot of Greed. Hey, just rolling through the staples. Most characters played it. If they don't, we add them in anyway because it helps the decks flow a bit better. And again, we try to give the decks enough utility that they can kind of compensate because, again, the anime is scripted, these duels are not. So it helps certain decks play out situations where, of course, the anime, those don't really occur. So next up is Ring of Defense, another one of our erratas. Why? Because the printed version prevents both players from taking damage, and that completely goes against Kaiba's combo, where he uses Ring of Destruction and Ring of Defense. So again, Google Docs in the description of the video has a formal write-up, but yeah, it's straight out of the anime. Only you are safe from damage. Shrink. Soul Absorption. So this deck also features a bit more life point gain for Kaiba through Soul Absorption and then also Spell Absorption. So he has some good reasons to be banishing his monsters. Additionally, the Dimension Fusion allows him to bring them back at a life point cost, which he can compensate for. So it's really a pretty good strategy for Kaiba. And again, it's something a little bit newer for him that we didn't see as much in Battle City, in the virtual world, in Waking the Dragons decks that we have. So with slow release as well, it gives him, you know, a different strategy to strive for. His deck from the Pyramid of Light, though, which we built, that had a bit more focus on banishing, but that was really more the goal of banishing Yugi's God cards than resummoning them to his field. Spell Absorption. So again, life point gain, Spell Reproduction, and the Flute Summoning Dragon. His classic with Lord of D. And now into the trap cards. 2 copies of Cloning. So if Kaiba is somehow short on monsters, he is now a little bit less short, 2 negate attack. So Kaiba does maintain some defense, although you see through this deck, of course, now it's very aggressive. It's Kaiba. He has some backups, but he's usually aggressive. In the last card, Ring of Destruction. Again, with the errata. Why? Because when Konami originally printed this card, it had the right effect. Pick a monster, pop it, both players take damage. It was banned for said reasons, but now Konami has errated it so that it has a new effect that limits the damage. It nerfs the card, it comes off the ban list, which is, not good for our anime duels. So even though we're putting it back to its original effect, and a lot of the copies that we're using have the original printing, we still put the stickers on because no matter what copy we have, no matter what printing any card has, it has to abide by the current official effect. So because of that, the white sticker will indicate to any of you guys, if you're aware of the newest printing effect, that this card is not abiding by that. Again, we get that Konami does this because it helps balance out their meta. It takes cards off their ban list, which is always just getting longer and longer because they keep printing these stupid cards like this. But I digress. Last card again. So XYZ Dragon Cannon, because we saw Kaiba use this, and this is incredibly useful, and now this makes his deck a little bit more XYZ centric, which is what we really want to see. So he has 2 of those of each copy, and we're going to try to make that a little more relevant. Again, so this deck does not contain the Blue's Ultimate Dragon. We didn't see Kaiba summon it. He probably could have. So this is one of those cases where if you felt that he should have it unquestionably, then by all means, plug it right in. A polymerization, drop out one of the duplicates, and Blue's Ultimate is right there. So Kaiba's Grand Championship deck, a lot of the same stuff that we've seen before, a couple new things, working that new, some new strategies. It's really cool to see these characters' decks over the different seasons because they change all the time, and some of them really change that will have the same monsters and they'll work different strategies. It's really cool to kind of see how, the characters' decks and their playstyles have changed, especially since Soul's Kingdom. That was such a different format that the decks have changed, pretty much from Ballast onward, was much more similar to current and actual, Yu-Gi-Oh gameplay. So, again, we're bringing you the last few of the deck profiles that we have planned for you guys. A lot more decks from later story arcs are going to be coming out in just written lists in our deck list document, where you'll also find this deck, the Joey deck, and then soon the Yugi deck from Grand Championship. We're really sorry we couldn't have brought out more duels and deck profiles with some of these things, but again, Delta and I have just had our personal lives really consume everything, so unfortunately, we got behind with the channel more so than we wanted to be, but we want to give you guys at least the most that we can get you. So, yeah. So stay tuned for that last deck, the Yugi deck, and like I said earlier though, hopefully when new cards come out later down the road, Delta and I maybe actually be able to throw together a limited number of deck profiles, but it's not something that we could, maintain even remotely steadily. But for decks that we really want to build and have wanted to build, and unfortunately their cards are coming out, after we've had to call it quits, it's unfortunate, and we're going to strive to build those because we probably would have, gone out of our way to build them anyway, as opposed to a lot of characters where we don't care to build them, but we want to build them for the channel. We want to show these decks, out to you guys. So with that, I'll bid you guys farewell, and I'll see you again pretty soon.